Hey beauty lovers and fellow entrepreneurs, I'm Yegi, the owner and founder of Yegi Beauty. Within 5 years of being my own boss, I was able to grow Yegi Beauty into a multi-million-dollar company. This podcast is where I share what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur in the beauty industry.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Yegi Project. Today we're going to talk about social media and the importance of it in order for us to stay on top of trends and to grow our business. And I really wanted to bring somebody on who's very great example of this and has done amazing with her content, her work, and also her influence on the beauty industry. So I want to introduce Mack, who will tell us more about herself, and we will interview her and pick her brain a little bit. So we're super excited to have her on board today. So welcome, Mack.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Please tell everybody a little bit about you and your business.
Okay, so I started lashing in 2014 and I didn't really know where I wanted to go with it, but it's been something that's really cool that I've been able to kind of branch out and build. And I have a salon now with a team of 8, and I also have a coaching business. Thank you. And I focus on coaching other lash artists, beauty professionals, and Zoom coaching virtual. And I have a bunch of online courses and in-person training for people to come into my studio just north of Seattle. And it's been really cool to see the industry grow and kind of grow myself along with it.
That's very exciting. And you've been doing this for a very long time, since 2014. Did you notice any trends changing with lashes? Did something click for you along the years where you're like, okay, this is my style of lashing?
I definitely fell in love with like the true Russian volume. I loved perfect line. My brain, it made sense to me, kind of making everything more symmetrical and perfect. And so when wispy sets started to come about and the strip lash look started to come about, I was like, I do not like that. My brain does not work like that. And I would have clients come to me and show me pictures of like the strip lash look. And I had a really hard time recreating that. So my style definitely kind of fell under that more Russian volume, perfect line, set. But as I've grown and as I've started to do more model sets, and I don't lash anymore, but I do still take models. And so I will push myself out of my comfort zone to do the wispy sets because I do think they are actually really beautiful.
Awesome. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge getting out of your comfort zone. But once you actually figure out your own touch with the new trends, I think that's key to making it your own, to have fun with it and make it successful for yourself, or you could be okay with that new style and still keep the customers happy, right? Because that at the end of the day, they're the boss. We need to give them what they want. So what is one thing that most people don't know about you? So you have a nice online presence in your local area with your salon, but what is one thing that people might not know about you?
I think the biggest thing that people don't know about me is that I actually had really bad anxiety for a long time, and I was so shy and I was terrified to put my face on social media. I was terrified to even like post my sets because I was worried about what other people might say or what other people might think. And I feel like that is something that I want to talk about more, because a lot of people struggle with that anxiety around posting.
Definitely.
And worrying about what other people think. But because a lot of time I'll talk about it a little bit and people are shocked that I dealt with daily panic attacks for almost 2 years.
Wow. Can you, what words of encouragement would you give people who are in the same boat? Because I've actually been in that boat too, and there's still days where I sometimes feel like that, even after like 13 years plus being an entrepreneur. But what words of encouragement would you give the people today that are listening to kind of keep going or to not care about what people think? What was your experience? How did you kind of take that leap of faith and be like, I'm just gonna go for it?
I think the biggest thing for me was realizing that I was so anxious about what I was thinking other people thought of me. I have no idea what other people think of me. And for me to put my face forward and start talking about things that were important to me and sharing value and sharing tips, the people who were attracted to me and who liked what I had to share were going to follow me and support me and be excited for me. And the people who didn't, or thought I was crazy or thought I was annoying, they could unfollow me. And those weren't the right people that I was marketing to. Those weren't the right people that I wanted to surround myself with. And so I started to realize the more I showed up as myself, the more authentic I was, the more stuff that I shared that I actually wanted to talk about, the more I was attracting the right people to me and repelling the people who weren't meant to be in my circle.
And
so
that's okay. It's okay to not be right for every single person. And we, like you said, we all have our own audience that is going to be naturally attracted to us. So from what I'm taking away from you, what you're trying to share with our listeners, that don't worry about who you're going to attract. Be you, do what you love, and share what you want to share. The right audience will come, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So besides that challenge of having anxiety and worrying and being hesitant at first to start showing your face on social media, was there any other big struggles you had to go through before you feel like, oh my God, I made it?
I feel like it's just, honestly, for me, it was all like self-doubt. It was all wondering, like, have I done enough? Am I doing enough? And I think a lot of us as business owners, we're constantly thinking, I should be doing more. I should be doing better. I should be doing this other thing. And so for me, it's been really hard to take a step back and actually celebrate the victories that I have accomplished. Even when we opened our commercial space a little over a year ago, I think I was excited for an hour. And then I was like, all right, what's next? What's next? And so I think for me, it's just kind of taking that step back and realizing, like, no, these are really big accomplishments. These are things that are really exciting. And I think the comparison aspect of things, because it's so easy to look at social media and compare your journey to somebody else's. And so I started to just turn inward and look at my own journey, look back at 2014 at the sets when I first started, look back at the photos of me working out of my parents' kitchen and seeing where I am now. And so that was definitely, more of an internal struggle with my own mindset. And when I started kind of getting excited for myself or realizing, like, no, I'm exactly where I need to be, I feel like that helped me put in perspective how much I have accomplished and how I should be excited and proud and confident. And I think for anyone, thinking about their own journey, or them being in a salon suite, or them being in their parents' kitchen, or whatever that looks like, just knowing, like, okay, this period of time is serving a purpose, and you're going to look back and be so excited that you did everything the way that you did it. And it is all going to work out.
Yes, definitely. We have to really change our mindsets. And I'm really big on that, trying to have the right mindset and trying to talk to myself anytime that, any doubts that come in our heads. I think that's really key, to step back, go back and see everything that you've accomplished. Even just for some people, even the smallest celebration, like, okay, today I got up out of bed, I put my makeup on, I'm dressed, I'm ready to take on the day. Even if you are to celebrate that small success, it gives you motivation and kind of a push to keep going. So I think it's the same thing when it comes to business, right? Is sometimes we look at others, or in different scales, we look and we want to do more, like you said, but we forget to celebrate how far we've come, and it discourages us. But it's a good reminder for people that, look, even if you are just lashing, or if you are just providing a service now, it's okay. Celebrate that and then enjoy the process of accomplishing and getting more. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing that I'm always interested in, because I know it was a very different approach I took when I got into the business world, but from from being your own boss and running your own clients, and then transitioning into a whole salon and running an employee base of 8, you said now, right? Of other lash artists, which is super exciting. What was your biggest struggle with that, or surprise with that process? Because that's been about a year, right?
It's been a little over a year with the team that large. So my longest employee has been with me for a little over 3 years. So it's a lot different starting with one and then all of a sudden welcoming a lot of artists on. And I have personally trained everyone, but I feel like the biggest struggle was me realizing how much time I needed to actually pour into them. And I was so busy with my own clientele and my own virtual coaching at that point that I didn't have a lot of extra wiggle room to really sit down and make sure that they felt comfortable. And so that was something that I started doing, is setting aside time to make sure that they felt fully comfortable, because I was kind of throwing them out into the deep end and training them and then letting them start taking models. And so that is something, like, if anyone's looking to start their own salon, make sure you have time to make sure that your staff feels comfortable and knows exactly what your standards are. And for me, I wish I would have blocked out my schedule a lot sooner, so I would have had the time to really walk them through everything, because I was so overwhelmed working probably 10-hour days with clients myself, and then trying to spend extra time responding to their text messages. And I just felt like I was failing everyone. I felt like I was letting everyone down because I wasn't able to give them my full attention because I was so busy with other aspects. And there was a coach that I worked with that said, you're basically giving 33% of you to each aspect of your business, your coaching, your salon, and then your own clientele. She's like, you need to take a step back in certain areas so you can actually pour into the other aspects of your business. And so that was a big wake-up call for me to realize, like, oh, if I want them to be successful, if I want them to feel confident, I need to step back in one area so I can help push them forward in another. And so that was something that was huge for me.
And is that when you realize maybe, you know, it's time for me to stop taking clients so I could have more time to scale up and try to train more people to grow your business?
Yeah, that's exactly when. And I knew it was coming. I knew it was something that I wanted to do. It was just actually taking that step back and realizing, like, okay, like, this is the time. I do actually have to do that now.
Yeah, I remember going through that myself too, actually. And it was really hard to make that final decision, because it, as an entrepreneur and a small business owner, we, like, it's our baby, you know. It's so hard to let it go and let go of control and let other people kind of take charge. So I do remember really struggling with that decision, but then it all ended up being fine. So I think that's the best advice I can get from my experience too, is like, if you feel it in your gut and in your intuition that, you know, it's time to take that next step or go that route, it is okay. It's going to be okay. Just really, like, pay attention to, like, the coach that advised you of where you're spending your time and what makes more sense as far as, like, your personal time, what makes more sense for you to pour into, what's going to give you the biggest return. Awesome. So I do want to talk about social media, because that's a whole other animal. So you can have a successful salon and business, but you don't have to also have influence on social media. But it is a big part of business today, especially in the beauty industry. So what advice would you give people to try to balance those two out? So what is your best practice in order, you know, because you have to keep in mind, a lot of people are still trying to take clients. They might not be so tech savvy. So when and how did you decide, like, okay, I'm going to start doing this and this is the results I'm going to expect?
So for me, when I started posting more on social media, specifically showing up and posting my face, is when I was still taking clients full time. I had a new client come to my door, and she kind of knocked on the door. She was a little timid. She opened the door and she said, "Are you MacKenzie? Am I in the right place?" She had no idea what I looked like. She had no idea what my space looked like. And I realized, oh my gosh, this is a new client and I'm supposed to be here, like, creating this experience for her. And she has no idea who I am or what my space looks like. And that's when I started to realize, like, okay, maybe I do need to post my face more, because I was nervous. I thought, it's weird to post my face on my business page. Like, it should be about my work. It should be about the experience and the clientele and the before and afters. And so that was my push, along with another lash artist that I admire, Meg's Lashes. She commented on one of my photos of me actually showing my face and said, "We want to see more of you." And so
I love that.
yeah, so those two instances really pushed me to show up more. And the more I started showing up, the more I realized like, oh, I'm giving my clientele, my future clientele, future, coaching students, a person to actually connect with. And it's so much easier to connect with a person than to connect with someone's work. And of course we can look at work and think it's so beautiful. But as far as like balancing, for me, I'm still trying to find balance. I'm still trying to find that kind of happy medium of, continuing to be consistent and posting and, still having time for work. So one thing that works for me is batch working. I like to try and create all my reels for, a week or 2 weeks, try to create anywhere from 10 to 30 pieces of content in one sitting. So I don't have to overwhelm myself and feel like I need to constantly be pumping out content, because I feel like for me, that helps me feel really creative and have bursts of creativeness rather than thinking I have to be on all the time.
Definitely. And I'm sure that helps too, because then you're in that zone. You're in the zone of, okay, I'm going to be fun or whatever you want to project in your social media. It's like, okay, I'm in that headspace. I'm going to feel like this is what I'm doing. I don't have to worry about the million other things that's on my to-do list. I'm just going to sit here and create batch content instead of like jumping back and forth between like all the million things you have to do as a business owner. Oh, that's
Absolutely.
great advice. And actually, a big takeaway I do want to kind of point out to our listeners is the showing your face to connect with your audience, because that's something I noticed for myself too, and that's something I've learned from in kind of the long run too, because I had a huge presence when I was personally so involved with my business, and everything seemed like I was a lot more engaged and connected to my audience. But afterwards, when I got busier and busier, I kind of had employees help me even with the social media, and my face kind of disappeared from it for a while too. And then I did notice a big difference between how engaged my followers were. So now I'm, for myself too, since this is called the Yegi Project, I'm currently working to get back to that aspect of it and trying to still keep my presence on there as a person, because it is a lot easier for people to connect with people compared to just a brand. And it is a fine line, because as a brand, it is hard to just be a person on your business page, because you do want the business to have a presence as well. But I think some brands that do that well, and I think you're doing that really well right now too. So I do want people to go check you out, and we'll link all your information for people below. But brands like Fenty Cosmetics or Kylie Cosmetics, so they are a brand. You will recognize a brand separately, but you do like attach these people to them. You do attach like Rihanna to Fenty, so you love her, you're connected to her, so you like her stuff, for example. So I really want people to kind of pay attention to that, because I think that's a mistake that I made, and I would prefer people not to, even for you, because as you're growing and growing too, like, it's keep up what you're doing. Don't step back from putting your face out there, because people really love it. They love connecting with you as a person. Have you ever wanted to stop posting on social media? Do you ever feel like it's too much? Like, does it take away from your creative self if you are to, let's say, start kind of scrolling and seeing other people's work, and you maybe start doubting yourself? Because I know a lot of people go through that, and then they're like, oh, okay, no, maybe I shouldn't post. So have you ever gone through that and recently, or even like as you feel like you made it, but do you still go through those feelings, or not really?
I go through those feelings, not so much in the sense of like comparing myself to others anymore, but I definitely go through ruts where I feel like, oh, okay, I literally always have content to post, but sometimes I just don't feel like I want to jump on and I want to engage. And for me, something that's really important to me is when I'm posting, I'm trying to spend at least 15-20 minutes engaging with the people who are engaging with my content, answering messages. And there have just been some weeks, whether I'm going through something in my personal life or the weather's bad, and I just
we all have those.
Yeah, if I just don't feel like I want to hop on. Like I even recently, this last week I started posting again, but there were 2 weeks where I didn't post anything and I wasn't really on stories. I kind of went MIA, and I think I do this probably a handful of times, 2, 3, 4 times throughout the year, where I just kind of neglect my Instagram and give myself that
too,
break.
honestly. I really do that too, and it would bother me sometimes, but when you really think about it, you're like, it's okay, we're human, right? So we want to be consistent, but at the same time, you want to be true to yourself, and I noticed that too. It's like you don't want to just put out anything. I rather do it when my heart is in it, and for me, it's been hard to be okay with that, because you think business and you're like, okay, no, we need to be consistent, this is what we need to bring out. But like we said, there's the human touch to it, and I think that's how the world and even businesses are evolving, where customers are more understanding as far as you as a person compared to just business and super like on the dot of what's expected as the old school professional, like respond to my DMs within 2 seconds, so people don't expect that anymore. And I think it is okay, and it's important for us to feel that it's okay to do that. And I'm glad that you share that with our listeners as well, because it really can be hard on people who are really trying to make it and they don't have that consistency. They think, oh, maybe this is what's getting in my way, then they'll be too hard on themselves. But just know that you don't have to be following this cookie cutter approach in order for you to get recognized. And what works for one person doesn't work for the next. And as Mack shared with us, like her approach has worked wonders for her. And that's great, right? So it can work for you as well.
Yeah, I think exactly like you said, there's no cookie cutter approach, and you just have to find what works for you.
One other question I did want to ask is about your coaching business. So are you coaching people in business, or are you coaching people in lashes virtually, or both?
A little bit of both. So I'm more so, a lot of my coaching clients actually come to me because they want to up their social media game. I feel like that's the biggest thing, the thing that I get most asked questions about now. And for people who want to run their social media similar to mine, I feel super connected with, and I feel really like I'm able to kind of hype them up and get them confident in showing up and showing their face. And a lot of the other questions I get are actually about creating online courses, hiring a team, or starting their own in-person training courses. And so those are kind of my areas of expertise. But ultimately, I just get really excited to connect with people who want to do something or follow in kind of this footsteps that I've taken in starting my lash business, being solo, and then kind of branching out into all the different avenues that I've been able to. So that's been a lot of fun for me.
So I didn't ask you, so how did you get started in the beauty industry?
So I'll rewind a little bit. I went to college, thought I wanted to major in business, and obviously kind of ended up doing that anyways without a college degree. But after a month of college, I called my mom and I said, I unenrolled myself, I'm packing up my things, and I'm coming home today. And so my parents were shocked. And college just wasn't a right fit for me. I felt like I didn't belong there. And so I was just working back at the restaurant I worked at in high school. I was getting my eyelashes done. And this was 2013. And the gal who was doing my lashes said, I think you should go to beauty school. And my mom even said that too. My mom said, you love makeup. Why don't you become an esthetician? You love skincare. And so I toured a school by myself and I fell in love immediately. And so I went to beauty school. And then the gal who was doing my lashes said, you should work something out for me. I should come into the school, and if you get enough people to sign up for the class, you can take the class for free. And so I got 24 people. I got 24 people.
Yes, I got this.
Yeah, I was like, I will make everyone take this class. So 24 of us took a class, and I was so bad at lashes. I was horrible at them. And I remember my first model, I don't even think I have photos of her. When her eyes were closed, I was like, oh, these are going to look good. I'm so excited. And she opened her eyes, and I looked at her and I said, I'm so sorry. It doesn't even look like I put anything on you. And it had been 4 hours. So It was
And
something
that's
that
such a common reaction for
Yes.
new lash artists. I've trained lash artists too, so I know that feeling. And for myself
Yeah.
too. It's like, whoa, I've been putting them on for 4 hours now. Where are they?
Exactly. It was so wild. So anyway, it was something that I wasn't good at, and I was like, I want to be good at this. Like, there's not a lot of lash artists in my area. Like, I need to capitalize on this now. And so I went and worked at a salon for a year, and then after a year I went out on my own. And I remember that was another thing, I kind of doubted myself a little bit. Not necessarily, but my parents, my dad specifically was like, MacKenzie, is this something that's sustainable? Like, I don't know if lashes are going to be a fad. Like, are they going to be something that's going to come and go? And I kind of had the mindset of, okay, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to college. If it doesn't work out, I'll get another job. It's okay.
And I think that attitude of not having fear going into something is really important. If you go into something with fear, then most likely it's not going to work out, because that's what you're projecting. You're already jumping into something with fear compared to saying it's going to be fine. Like, let me at least give it a fair shot before I realize, like, before I figure out if this is right or wrong for me, right? And I hate when people tell other people to not do something. That's been my story too, but very, very important for our listeners. Never listen to anybody else. If you feel something, that you want to go for, always go for it, and then, reassess and see if it's working or not. But definitely always give it a try.
Totally. Well, and I think too, a lot of the time, like, it really hurt my feelings that my dad was saying those things. And now looking back, I'm like, okay, now I have to take my emotions out of it, because he was emotional about it too. He was worried that it wasn't going to be something that was sustainable for me, and he wanted me to be successful. It wasn't him thinking I couldn't do it. It was more his own scarcity mindset or his own fear. And that was his own projection on me. And so it's been really cool, because I've always been very close with my parents. And when I moved into my commercial space, my dad and I painted together. And as we were painting it, I looked over at him and I said, do you still think lashes are a fad? I said, do you still think they're going to come and go? And he kind of laughed, and he was like, I'm really proud of you. And I'm really glad.
That.
Yeah. And he was like, I'm really glad that you did stick with it and you trusted yourself, because look at what you've built. And so it was a really cool moment. Yeah, it was awesome.
Love that so much. And would you say like, for you, that college didn't work out and you got into this new whole thing, would you say you believe that everything happens for a reason and it's just kind of like a sign to redirect yourself? Was that your experience with that?
Oh, for sure. And I think too, like, intuitively, I think everyone has to trust their own instincts and trust their own intuition, because I don't know where I would be if I had ignored that feeling in the entire month that I was there. Only 30 days, but the entire time, the whole time, I felt I'm not supposed to be here. I shouldn't be here. This is not where I'm supposed to be. And if I had quieted that, feeling, I have no idea what I would be doing. And now,
and you would probably not be happy.
Exactly. And I think that's the biggest thing. You have to follow your passion. And even thinking about my first class, I definitely wasn't passionate about lashes right away, but it was something that I learned to become passionate about, and I got better, and it got easier, and I felt more confident. And so you may not feel so passionate or so confident in the beginning, but if you stick with it, you're going to be successful. If you don't quit, you're going to get to that place of feeling confident and being excited about it and figuring out other avenues for yourself to be successful in.
Yeah, I really feel like like you said, stick with it. That's huge for me with anything that I advise when people are doing something and they're struggling. I believe it's almost like a test, if it's too easy to get to that end line, everybody would do it. And we all get put to this test. We get these challenges and these roadblocks along the way of our path. And if we stick with it, like you said, and get over these roadblocks, that's when we truly see the bright side and the success behind it. But a lot of times when people see these roadblocks, they just kind of stop, right? And they're like, no, like maybe this is not right for me, or maybe I'm not the right person. But stick with it. Like she said, it's going through that hardship that's going to kind of prepare you and make you stronger in order to handle more. But speaking of that, can you share with our listeners how, because initially getting that confidence, you know, to kind of keep going is really hard. And like I said, even for me, anytime I'm doing something new, I'll go through these like roller coasters of emotions of like, oh my God, like, am I doing the right thing as my next step, right? But what are some things that you do that will help you with your confidence or your inspiration and motivation at the moment when you're tackling something new? Yes, that's the question.
I think the biggest thing, you're never gonna feel ready. You're never gonna say, even if you say like, oh, when I get to this point, that's when I'm gonna take that leap. Every single time, I have never felt comfortable opening the salon, hiring someone. I never felt ready. So you're not ever gonna feel this ready feeling. You just have to go for it and then roll with it. And you just have to understand that the confidence will come. For an example, the first live video that I did on Instagram, I was terrified and I like was sweating and I ran through it, and I'm not kidding. It was probably only a 5-minute video and my shirt was drenched. I was so sweaty. I was so scared. And then I was a little less scared the next live I did. And the live after that, I was a little less scared. And then after that, I wasn't sweaty. And then after that, I started doing lives with other people. And so you're going to get more confident by taking action and doing the thing that scares you. And the more you do things that scare you, the less scary these big things will seem. So that's kind of my biggest advice. Just do it.
So just suck it up, do it the first couple times, it'll get easier.
Exactly.
That's
and don't expect yourself
advice.
to be perfect.
So as far as your skill, so for you it was lashes, but some of our listeners, it might be hair or anything else in the beauty industry or maybe other service industries. So how did you feel comfortable with your skill? What was your approach to be like, okay, I'm good enough at my skill to, you know, hire somebody or put it on social media? Like, did you first, from my experience, like first you have to be kind of like comfortable with your skill for you to at least know you're like good at what you're doing before you can project that out into the world. So what was your kind of process in getting there?
I wanted to make sure that I had the best education. And so I was continuing my education, taking 1 to 2 classes per year, and just really kind of looking at other people on Instagram and looking at their work as inspiration rather than making myself feel like my work wasn't good enough. But I wanted to have like that goalpost of like, okay, what am I trying to get to? And then also looking back at my old work and seeing how far I had come. But honestly, after taking trainings, getting feedback, sending my trainers photos, asking questions here and there to help myself to make sure my retention was good, having those hard conversations with clients and asking them for feedback and asking them if there was anything that I could improve on, specifically with retention. I struggled with retention really bad the first 2 years that I was lashing. And then I finally took another course and my mind was blown and I finally had good retention. And so for me too, like, practicing and just fanning for 15 minutes every day to get my muscle memory until I was able to make the fans as I was lashing. And so honestly, those were the biggest things, just making sure I was staying up on my education, whether that was, you know, taking a class on social media or taking the lash classes. But I would say in the beginning, the lash classes were of utmost importance to me because that's what I wanted to shine.
You didn't have to guess, right? I think that's one thing that people do is they just guess or they assume, and then sometimes it works really against you. Like you assume you're really bad, but that's not true. Like if you were to take a class and somebody were to guide you and help you, you get that confidence, like, no, I'm not that bad. I just needed this like one little thing that I need to adjust. So I think I think education is really, really important. I'm a huge believer of education. I'm constantly like reading books because I'm big on motivation and success and all of that. So that's where I spend a lot of my time lately in studying like the little nitty gritty of how to get people from like nothing into like where they want to go. So that's what I've been obsessed with. So I think that's like you said, it's key to really get there and to become successful is get the education so you get your confidence and then you can build off of that. Awesome. Well, is there any last closing words of encouragement you have for our listeners?
I guess my biggest words of encouragement is you can do anything you put your mind to and really go after what you want, because we have this one life and you can literally create the life that you want. You just have to believe you can.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Oh, one last question, because I know lash artists always ask and they're obsessed with lash artists that they look up to. How long does it take you to do a classic full set, a hybrid full set, and a volume full set? Because I know that's a common lash question.
A classic full set can take me anywhere from 90 minutes to 2.5 hours, depending on how many lashes somebody has. I remember a classic set maybe took me 45 minutes on like a mature client. I think she was in her 70s. She had barely any lashes. But then hybrid and volume can take me anywhere from 2.5 to 4 hours, depending on what look I'm going for. So don't rush.
Oh, wow.
Take your time.
That's great. That's great advice, because I know a lot of people also try to work on their speed, and it shows in their work. So I like that advice. Don't rush. Your speed will come naturally with more practice, and certain sets it's kind of impossible to do under 2 hours. So it is okay to spend 3 or 4 hours if that's the look your client's going for and they're willing to pay for it.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing. So before we close, can you tell people again where they can find you and how they can connect with you?
I can be found on Instagram at MackLashMob. It's MackLashMob. And I spend most of my time on Instagram, except for when I'm MIA, taking my little social media breaks. But I have all my links there, and say hi on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, we'll also link all of her information below. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you. And I want to let you go. I know you're very busy, but we'll be seeing you on social media and connecting through there. Again, thank you for taking the time to talk to our listeners. I'm sure that everybody got so much valuable information from your experience and your story. But thank you again. Have a great one. Bye.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening. Please rate and review this podcast. Follow and engage with us on social media under the Yegi Project. And if you're interested in being a guest, email info@theyegiproject.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.